Aloha and welcome, gang. Here we are. We have another Wednesday with the most amazing panel around. I am actually starting to really look forward to these Wednesdays, a day that I can kind of come together with a bunch of amazing women. Okay, talk some stories. It started off the internet safety bit, and it's just we had so much fun talking and hanging out with everyone. It's like, yeah, we got to keep this going. So I also need to, let's see where we go. There's our comment section. There we go. Everyone popping in. Quick hellos to everyone there popping in. Kai Mojo, Nicole, Tim's there, Sherry's there. Everyone's going around with boop, boop, boop. Okay, yes, we know how that goes. So thank you, Kai. Thank you. So let me pull up these gals real quickly. We first have our dear Sleuth Mom. Hello, Sleuth. How you doing, my dear?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Very good. Very, very good. So, and then our dear PJ. Hello, PJ.
Hey, how are you guys doing tonight?
Very good. Very good. I'm excited about this one. Couple stories here I told people. I know Sleuth and I were both like, we never talk about these stories. Yeah, and here we are. So, and then Burden. We'll get back to that in a second. But hey, Burden, what you been up to today, my dear?
Not much of anything. Just getting ready for tonight. How are you?
Good. Very good. Like I was saying a second ago, yeah, Sleuth and I have kind of joked that we're talking about cases that we never thought we would ever cover before. Okay, Summer Wells, Gabby Petito today, all these other things. But you know what? They are victims that need to be covered. And as each of us have been choosing, each one of us here in this group has chosen someone that has really affected us, a case that has really affected us. And when it came down to me, I was looking at the time of year. Everyone knows it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We've had some amazing channels doing some stuff. Okay. Savage, PJ, a lot of people really trying to bring domestic violence to the forefront. And also, as I got thinking about that, I remembered Maya and Gabby. Both of them have been victims of domestic violence. And so I thought we'd just come together today and cover both of these cases a little bit. So let me ask you three, on a level of 1 to 10, how much have you followed both of these cases? Let's start with Gabby.
Gabby would be a 10, and
Yeah, Gabby
Maya's
was
kind of new to me.
Okay. Maya was new to you. Okay. And a 10 for Gabby. Yeah, I think that was it for me too. Yeah. Burden, how about you?
Maya was probably an 8 or a 9.
Nice. Yeah, I remember when Maya was first coming up, very few were covering her because there were so many other, i.e. Gabby was going on at the time. And and as we know, it's very hard to focus on more than one story at times. So both of these cases have been going forward, police looking at stuff. So what I wanted to do is just start off with looking at some of the statistics of domestic violence. And here we go. Okay, so each year we all know domestic violence is a major issue for us around the world, not just the U.S. gang. This is an issue for us throughout the world. And it's not just a woman on man issue. Okay. It covers the spectrum. Okay. So here they're saying, according to Social Solutions and a number of other sources, more than 1 in 3 women, 35.6% and 28.5% of men in the U.S. will experience, and gang, I'm sorry, I do tend to use the full words a lot of time because I feel words do have power. Okay, and we can take the power away from it by saying the word. So it's the whole Voldemort thought. And also they experience, rape, physical violence, stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. And nearly 20 people every minute are physically abused by an intimate partner. in the US. During 1 year, this adds to 10 million. Gang, the reason why I'm going through these numbers is when we look at what we do here, okay, a lot of the people we cover tend to be connected to domestic violence and all. So, I don't know, the three of you, okay, as we kind of go into this whole thing, how often do you guys think, and I know I'm just having you make numbers off the top of your heads or ideas or stuff like that, but the connection between domestic violence and crime as we see it, whether it be disappearances, murder, whatever. Do you see that happen every day?
Yeah, I personally think that the numbers are much, much larger than we would ever imagine that they would be. So much in domestic violence never gets reported. Number one, because the man or woman involved in the situation may be fearful of their partner, fearful of how their family or friends will look at them, society as a whole, because they're a victim and things like that. And so I think a lot of times it goes unreported. But not only that, even if we're not talking about missing or murder cases in general, how many of our police officers get injured even responding to domestic disputes? It's one of the most dangerous calls that you can take as an officer, for example. So I think it's going to be a bigger number than we could ever imagine.
Very, very true. The other two of you, any thoughts or anything on that?
I think domestic violence has to do with like a lot of disappearances just because, well, from having knowledge of it, and you never know what a person can do to another person when they get angry, and then they're just gone. It's a rough cycle.
True that, true that. Burden, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's extremely high, and there's multiple cases that I could think of their picture, their face. I'm drawing blanks on their names. I was actually just trying to look them up really quickly, but yeah, there are multiple that come to the imagery in my mind of I mean, Cassie Carley, and she wasn't even actively in that relationship anymore that was involved in it. And I think her name was Mary, maybe. She ended up being involved in domestic violence that led to her death. And a TikTok star, I think her last name maybe Sharky. She ended up having her husband take her life. And so yeah, there's so many that come to mind. I think it's very prevalent.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people in MX, well, it was MX right here said, and fear of being murdered stops people from complaining also. So they're scared about what might happen over time. But I think how many times we're looking at cases and we talk about the violence, okay, the murder and stuff like that, but we're forgetting the connecting line between all these things. And it's not just like I was saying, okay, female on male on female. And I think that's something important for us to, yes, okay, the male on female seems to be more readily, okay, we see the numbers are higher and stuff like that. Okay, but 1 in 4 gay men, 1 in 3 bisexual men, and 3 in 10 heterosexual men will experience the same types of violent domestic violence going on with them. 44% of lesbian women, 61% of bisexual women, same thing. So it's not honestly just this small subset of females with a male partner. It affects, and I think especially with the men, a lot of times they are extremely worried about speaking up and can very quickly, and usually what happens, okay, we don't see it as much, but something happens in a DV type relationship and they try to hide it, which is what we tend to see. That happened with Gabby. Let's hide it. Okay, Maya, let's hide it. As we go further down, that 1 in 15 children are exposed to intimate partner violence each year. 90% of those children are eyewitnesses to this violence. Today, we are talking about Maya. The police believe that Maya's children were witness to her death. So this is continuing these cycles. Okay, not to mention the fact, if you've got a DV relationship, is it also going into abuse of the children and the potential of violence there? And the last one I really wanted to bring up was that whole thing that on average, more than 3 women and 1 man are murdered by their intimate partner in the U.S. every day. Okay, that was wild. And that kind of goes along sleuth. You were just mentioning a few seconds ago, you think the numbers are bigger than we think. And that kind of brings that to our forefront that, yeah, they are big. There are tons of these people here. So let me go ahead as we start warning. Yeah, Red Rock, that's what threw me was when I saw that number, but it makes sense if you look at it. And that's just the U.S. What about in other countries where it might be more acceptable? We do know there's certain countries out there where domestic violence is a more quote unquote acceptable thing in certain cultures. And also, are you dealing with so many other areas on that side? So let me go ahead real quickly and let's start this discussion with Gabby. So the 3 of you guys were following Gabby from the beginning. It looks like all of us are at the same level. What about you guys in chat? How long have you guys been following Gabby? Was it from the beginning or is it something new that you started over the last couple months or so while I bring this next thing up? Let's see. Here we go. Okay, here we go. So, whoops, would have helped if I had done this, wouldn't have? Okay.
I've seen a couple say that it was the beginning for them for Maya.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. You'll stay, yeah. So from the beginning, yeah. It was hard to do, especially with Gabby, because it was everything we were talking about was Gabby Petito. Whether it was in the regular media, YouTube, whatever, it was just everywhere. Moab brought you to the case. That was an interesting part where everyone started kind of trying to connect these areas. And they were good thoughts, okay? Turned out a little different, but it was the group. What amazed me with Gabby is this was a case that was heavily solved by social media. It was the van life people that were able to bring a closure to this case.
Well, not even that, but just the areas that they were searching. The van life people initially, like they did see that footage eventually, but before they seen that footage, people were following Gabby's trails that she had hiked, that she was checking off on her list. And that gave her family a starting point since they didn't have her cell phone data and didn't have access to those pings right away and stuff like that. It was social media, Reddit users that located her All Trails account that the family was able to go start searching.
Right. And that's what was great because it really did pull people together to be able to solve things like this. We do talk about how things can go overboard at times, but there are times that we can come together and actually use it for the right reason. And I think it really was being done that way, especially in the beginning with Gabby, myself. So yeah. Was it
even the speculations that surrounded them, the stuff with like Brian's book history and like his drawings and the different things that kind of pointed to he might have this violent side of him, it was all relevant. It was all stuff. And that's where the Moab thing really got interesting because, he was reading these books about traveling and becoming a serial killer. And then these murders just so happened to happen right by where they were. And it was like,
exactly.
I mean, that was one of those things where I was honestly shocked to find out that it wasn't, you know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. No, everything it was a case where every couple days we had new information coming out. And that was giving us a good idea of what was going on. We had videos of her going out to these different areas because she was a vlogger, okay, and things like that. And a lot of this, we know what happened with Gabby. I'm kind of zooming through part of this whole calendar bit because we all kind of know a lot of what happened. And it's more the discussion about it. Okay, how all these things connect, how at the end we saw the diaries and we really got an idea of who this person was. And so, for those of you who might, that couple of you guys who are out there who may not have known, Gabby was reported missing September 11th of 2021. And so, some of the things, okay, as we were talking, okay, there's been a lot of they had picked up with the idea of going from Florida all the way out, and they were going to just spend a couple months just traveling around, okay, the central part of the US, up in the mountains, things like that, just the two of them, and do videos the same way many of us do our videos. They do that. Okay, sorry. Let's see here. So, the first thing that actually I remember very heavily was the disorderly conduct stop. So during this time, what was your guys? This I'd like to hear, and we may not even go through the actual dates here. I just want to get everyone else's thought on this. What was your guys' initial thoughts on that stop when you guys started seeing the stop happening?
My heart hurt for her. I was really, really sad for her. Like, I just wanted to hug her and tell her it's okay. I thought that he was, I don't know if it was, I just think that he was manipulating. I thought that he was able to be that smooth talker in the moment, and I thought that she was just being honest, very much like how I would have been, like, "Well, yeah, I did this, and I did," I just, I saw an innocence in her, um, but I didn't like how it got handled. I didn't like that, she's the one that he got put into a hotel, and she got left to stay in the van by herself. I I just thought that was really dangerous. It was really not good.
That's what frustrated me so much. And girls, just jump in. We're going to run this a little different than we've run some of the others. It's more just talk story since this was such a big case. That is what pissed me off. Is I'll be honest. When I first saw it, I kind of saw with her, okay, and her reactions. I could see reactive abuse going on. In fact, I did a mental health live on reactive abuse at the time due to that. But it was frustrating me extremely bad because of the fact I could not understand why they weren't taking steps to deal with her emotions, because you could see her emotions were all over the place. And it just didn't seem like there was that one person cared, but the rest of them, it just felt like we're pushing her off and like, okay, we're done, let's get this over with.
Yeah, there was one police officer kind of hinting to her, like, did you really initiate the fight? Like, he kept trying to ask her to get a different response. That's what I noticed about one of the police officers. But it's sad because police officers are not trained in this stuff. So I know it's really like I felt bad for her because I could feel her pain. But if police officers were trained in trauma, more often this stuff wouldn't happen. So
it seemed
honestly,
like
I had the unpopular opinion whenever all of this came out. That was me. I was that guy that was like, I was concerned with, you know, the police officer stood there and said that by rights they had to follow procedure and all of this stuff. They should have taken her into custody. And that was my opinion from the beginning. If they were saying that she was the aggressor, if they were going to put this all on her, then they should have taken her into custody. They should have never left her out there in that van. Um, and I understand that they were trying to like not give her the charge and all of this other stuff, but if the shoe was on the other foot and she was the driver and he would have been slapping her arm or doing whatever to make her pull over, he would have been cuffed and thrown into the back of the car so fast it wouldn't even been funny. And I mean, and he had visual marks on him. And so my opinion has always been they had an extremely toxic relationship. This was literally like a volcano and a tornado mixing, and it did not end well.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw with her, there were definitely emotional things, which the first time, now the longer I saw it and the more I kind of got more information about the video, then it's like everything. We make our assumptions on the initial thought, and then we get more information and more facts to cover it up, and things start changing. But I was seeing her emotions and where she was, and I was like, is she safe to be on her own right now? Okay, those were the concerns I had. Okay, and yeah, I also have had the case. I've had friends that were males that were being abused by their female partner. And so kind of sleuth. There was a part of my head that kept going back to that also myself.
Yeah,
That
I thought.
it can be everyone.
Oh, sorry. I thought they should have, because they kept saying she was the aggressor, and if they did put her in jail, she probably would be alive today.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't
Exactly.
know if it would have made that much of a difference with her being alive because it was only a 24-hour thing. But at the same time, would she have made contact with her parents and they made her come home or something along those lines? That's one of those unknown things that we just don't know how it would have played out. The cops could have never known how it was going to go, but you have this girl who's telling you she can't drive the van. She's not comfortable driving the van. She's in the middle of nowhere. She has no money. She has nowhere to go, like all of this stuff. And she was the aggressor, quote unquote, in the situation. And it's like, they should have just took her in. They should have
Right.
just took her into custody.
Well, that time would have helped definitely calm things down a little bit. Now, they were a toxic relationship. Unless they broke up, there was something going to happen sooner or later. I can't help but say that. And, but that time might have made the difference between whatever happened next, for sure. And so going in within this, and I'm kind of skipping through, okay, we know a lot of the thing about how they were seen, okay, Salt Lake City, there was discussion about them getting engaged. Okay, this picture that I just love of her, this has always been one of my favorite pictures of her. I mean, she just looks beyond happy in this picture. And and then we had the different texts. And this was something that started throwing some really big red flags for me. When I started hearing about these texts, okay, about Stan, the grandfather, things like that, I myself was like, okay, we've got a massive problem here. Okay, and someone is playing games. Not sure where you guys felt as the text messages started coming up.
Worried. I was really worried about the as they started coming. I was like, yeah, something's not right here, and I definitely was leaning towards this is not coming from her
Yeah,
because it just didn't add up. It didn't add up.
yeah. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
It's like we say all the time, a child's parents know who they are and how they're going to act. And we need to listen to them when they tell us this is not the normal. So, yeah. Any other thoughts on that before we continue?
I think
Find
that
out what time the text messages were on the 27th in comparison with that Whole Foods video.
That's a good question. I cannot remember. I don't know if anyone in chat who knows the case real well might know also where those fall. Because, yeah, we definitely know it was after they went to dinner and that whole thing over at the restaurant. Then they went there. And, yeah, that was the last time we saw her publicly. Which actually, while maybe this will give us something to take a look at while we're doing that, let me go ahead and bring up the video. So we were just talking about Whole Foods. So during this whole time, we talked about how there was a fight, okay, over at a restaurant. And that fight kind of led into, I really wonder if that's heavily what kind of triggered a lot of the further behavior myself. I think that was one thing he could not put down. But they headed over to Whole Foods, and this is video that was just released the other day, and I'm sure everyone has seen it. But let me pull that up, and this might give us a chance to see if anyone can find anything out about the video. I mean, the text messages. So this is the inside portion of the video, not the outside. Sorry. we go. There we go. Okay. So I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts on this? I know as I've been looking at it, I definitely see where they barely ever talked. And I'm wondering if she was just trying to stay away. She tried to cuddle up with him a little bit at the beginning of the video where they're walking into the store. And then at some point it was just like, okay, I'm just going to stay a little further away and things like that. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on it.
I think they look like a couple that just had an argument, came in, and were kind of ignoring each other. I don't see her as being guarded or anything like that at all whatsoever. Because you do see, if you close up, you see her yawn and everything else. So she was tired. Because I kept like doing close-ups on it to see like her expressions and stuff.
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
Yeah, I think
Birdie?
that after he slammed that door, when he got out and slammed the door, she did go right around over to his side of the truck, to the van. And I think that she kind of quickly was trying to mend whatever the issue was, there was the yawn. But yeah, whatever the problem was, I think that she tried to mend and make it okay. And I think that's why they seemed close in the get go coming in. But she quickly realized he was in a mood and it wasn't going to change. And then she kind of started to stay to herself and do her own thing and hope that this trip would kind of, okay, get what we need to get. I'll stay over here. You get what you need. All right. Is kind of how it looks to me. Um, I don't know. I kind of think that she still seemed a little bit to herself. Like you could still kind of yawn and still kind of have, but I still kind of feel that it was still some type of soothing to herself by having her arms crossed like that.
That's,
Um,
yeah. The
I
crossing
still
the
think it was,
arms.
yeah, I still think it
Yeah.
was a little bit of a soothing thing to her at that time, even if it wasn't like maybe fear so much. I just think that it was still a comfort,
Right.
if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, those arms crossed. I'd love to see what her baseline was with arms crossed as she walks everywhere and stuff like that. The video coming in, you can see a certain part where she kind of goes up to him and you can kind of see her trying to get close to him. You know what? When you're dealing with DV, okay, a lot of us have researched DV or been part of relationships or something. You're always trying to figure out how to calm the situation. Sometimes it is by paying attention to the person more. Sometimes it's by keeping your distance. And you almost during this video can see her trying all those things as she's coming in. I'll try to play oh, okay, come on, you know what, I want to be close to you and all that. And then later on being like, okay, you know what, I'll just give him his space, let him go wherever he wants to. He was definitely quiet. I don't know if I saw anger in him in it, but he was definitely quiet. Barely a word said between the two of them. And Sleuth, do you have any thoughts on it?
Nicole B just commented and said she's very confident in her videos and there's no confidence here. And I agree with that. You know, she seemed very off compared to what we had seen in her YouTube videos. And then the other thing was whenever this was released the other day, I just kept thinking about if obviously I hope her parents had already seen it. I couldn't imagine seeing video footage from the day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? From earlier that day. I don't know. It's hard
Yeah.
to tell what their point of mind was and stuff like that, but
No,
you know,
that is a good point. Oh my God. Yeah. No, you hope that they do that. Okay, what was it? What was the name of the restaurant? The Mary, we don't know. I can't
where the
remember.
fight with the waitress happened.
Yeah, where the fight happened. And because I know they had video, but they accidentally recorded over the video. And that would have been great to see with that.
Mary
But
Piglet.
Piglet, that's it.
That's what it was.
Piglet. That's it. So Kai asked, how long were they together as a couple? I can't remember. I wanted to say it was like 2 or 3 years, but I'm guessing. I know I've heard that answer before, but I can't pull it up.
And they
So
were kind of off and on there for a little bit. You know, they had their issues. They had separated and then got back together and then separated and got back together. And, There was a whole thing where he flew home right in the middle of their trip and got a storage unit and stuff like that with his uncle. And it
Yes.
just makes you wonder, like, what happened before that incident and what made him go back? Did he feel guilty leaving her stranded out there? Because she clearly says she can't really drive that van. Or was he pressured to go back by family members and stuff like, no, you go out there and get her type of deal? And how much would have changed if that would have never happened?
Yeah, that has always got me. Him going back home during that time. Okay, that's always been something that got with me here. Red Rocks was asked, let's see, the options the police have. And you know what? I think that's something with the police. I don't necessarily fault the police. I think the police were doing everything in general. There were a few things I had issues with, but they were doing what their procedures were telling them to do. Now, in my eyes, does that mean that was the best decision? No. I think that's where we need to go back and look at our procedures. Okay, that's what we do in long-term care. When we have a problem and a fall or an incident with a resident or something, we go back and we look at those procedures and we see, is there something that could have been done differently? So I think this was a situation I would love to know a year later what they have done to change their systems for situations like this. So just my 2 cents on that. So we saw the discussion on the discussion. Okay, got it. And also, the next thing I wanted to bring in, I know we're zooming through, but I want to make sure we give Maya the attention also, because her story is also going on and they actually have some court dates coming up actually. But I did want to share this. Everyone remember when this came out and we finally got to see what was going on with the diary?
Yeah, that was wow. I mean, that came out of nowhere too when those dropped, and it was like it's been released and you can actually see it in his writing. But people were waiting and waiting and wanting to know what it said. So it was a pretty big deal when it came out, and then it just kind of makes your stomach, for me, it made my stomach just turn when I read it and what he said and his excuse. I just can't.
Oh gosh.
It kind of reminded me like what he was talking about. One of the books that his favorite writer like talks similar as he like wrote the whole thing. So it kind of like made me go with that little theory that everybody was going with, how he was copying the books that he read, because he read a lot of weird books. So
yeah. Oh yes, exactly.
The whole thing inside of this notebook too, he tried to make it sound like he was doing Gabby a favor, like he was putting her out of her misery for her because of everything that she had to suffer with, and he couldn't stand seeing it anymore and all that stuff. And it was just like, really just trying to take the blame off of himself. And that's what abusers do. It's always the victim's fault. It's always them in service to the victim, or, I did it because I love you, stuff like that. And so it kind of didn't shock me.
All the way to the last line. In fact, I was going to read it for everyone, but even the last line here, okay, going and saying, oh, please make sure to pick up all my things because Gabby didn't like people to litter. I mean, the tone of that kind of comment, infuriate, egomaniac, MX, there you go. I mean, the way he thought of himself. But for those of you who remember, because I'll be honest, when I pulled up this again and read it for the first time in months, it reminded me what an abuser truly is, just like Sleuth, what you were just saying. Okay. He was like, Gabby, I wish I was at your side. I wish I could be talking to you right now. I'd be going through every memory we made, getting even more excited for the future. But we lost our future. I can't live without you. I've lost every day we could have spent together, every holiday. I'll never get to play with something again. Never go hiking with TJ. I loved you more than anything. I can't bear to look at our photos, to recall great times, because it is why I cannot go on. When I close my eyes, I will think of laughing on the roof of the van, falling asleep to the sight of illegible at the Crystal Geyser. I will always love you. And he continues going on to this, and that's when he starts telling the story of what happened. Okay. He goes in, okay, saying, let's see. They loved as much, if not more than me, talking about his parents loving her. A new daughter to my mother, an aunt to my nephews. Please do not make this harder for them. This occurred as an unexpected tragedy. Rushing back to our car, trying to cross the streams of illegible before it got too dark to see, too cold. I hear a splash. Now, the tense of these words also got me. Okay, I hear a splash and a scream I could barely see. I couldn't find her for a moment, shouted her name. I found her breathing heavily, gasping. She was freezing cold, the blazing hot national parks in Utah. The temperature had dropped to freezing and she was soaking wet. I carried her as far as I could from the stream towards the car, stumbling, exhausted, and shocked, when my illegible, and knew I couldn't safely carry her. I started a fire and spooned her as close as to the heat. She was so thin, had already been freezing too long. I couldn't at that time realize that I should have started a fire first. Didn't he say he had actually just had her as close to the fire? But anyhow, I couldn't at that time realize that I should have started a fire first, but I wanted her out of the cold to the car. From where I started the fire, I had no idea how far the car might be, only knew it was across the creek. When I pulled Gabby out of the water, she couldn't tell me what hurt. She had a small bump on her forehead that eventually got larger. Her feet hurt, her wrist hurt, but she was freezing, shaking violently while carrying her, continually making sounds of pain. So I don't want to go through the whole thing here, gang, because what happened to her is not something we should be making this huge story out of. In my eyes, though, this is pure manipulation. Okay, this is pure narcissism. Okay, we talk about narcissists all the time, but that is narcissism. And any thoughts you guys have?
Yeah, all the way up until he killed himself, right? He
Mhm.
still couldn't admit to what he did, couldn't take ownership of what his issues were, even all the way up to his own death. He still had to make sure that didn't look like the villain in this situation. It was all her fault. He did it to help her, all of that. Pure,
Yeah,
pure narcissist.
Yeah.
exactly.
He tried to come in like he had the cape. He was the superhero in the whole thing, and he just couldn't bear the weight of what all had occurred. Sick. It's absolutely disgusting. Makes me sick.
Yeah, I never expected it to be that bad. That's what got me. PJ, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think he's just a total definition of a narcissist. I think a lot of us that have survived domestic violence can compare their stories to the way he acted or their abuser was, because I don't know, that letter just makes me sick every time I hear it.
Yeah. Well, that's why I couldn't even keep reading it. Yeah, I could read the whole thing for you guys, no problem. But to me, by doing that, you're actually giving him what he wanted. He wanted everyone to hear this story about how nice he was and how supportive he was and stuff like that. Yes, Kai Mojo, exactly. It's like he was writing a screenplay. I mean, the language here, the use of this present tense in there. Okay, it really wasn't like it was real even in his head, to be honest. Okay, just this approach he had to everything, that he was, God, I hate to even say this, he was her savior. And that's what pissed me off.
See, I
There's
didn't
a,
know if it
yeah,
was that or if it was him separating himself from it that much, or if it was him like reliving it. Like as he was writing it, he went back to that moment and was remembering what he did. And in his mind, he had to change it to the superhero thing.
right. No, and that could be, that could very, very well be. And it's this drama, this mystery. It's just, It was sickening as we were going through and watching this. But I know some of the things that really brought out to me with this whole case is the idea of domestic violence. You could see a girl who was trying to work through it, trying to figure out how to deal with the relationship, maybe change someone, things like all the things that someone in that type of relationship is looking at. But this was, like I mentioned earlier, the first time I understood what reactive abuse was. I had never heard of reactive abuse before Gabby Petito. And finding out more, and that all came out of the video of the police stop. Because when a person is part of an abusive situation, you will get into this where they give as sometimes a way to protect themselves. Sometimes when you've got a full toxic relationship, and this was a toxic relationship, things are going back and forth. Emotions are going all over the place. But in the end, what every person needs in a case like this is someone who understands, friends. And she had none of her friends nearby at the time that she could really lean on other than by phone calls. And so I'm not even sure at this point, having that time probably would have been the best thing for her if there had been time that she could have had the hotel room or even in jail, just to have time to think things through, even if it was just to calm down.
Whose idea was it to go on the road like that? Do we know? I don't think I ever looked into it that deep. And I'm just wondering if it was a tactic to get her completely separated and alienated like that.
He had
I
always
know
It was
Gabby's
her.
mom. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go for it. Go for it, Pete.
I know Gabby's mom did state that that Gabby wanted to do it, and she wanted to live like the social media life, being on van life, and I forget what else.
Okay. So
That's
that
why
wasn't
she
like a
asked.
manipulation by him then?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. She wanted to, in fact, if anything, I think he wanted to kind of settle down and stuff. But this was like, okay, we'll give you this one chance to do that. But I think that also was half of the problem. You get two people who are fighting all the time in something as small as a vehicle like that. It's going to lead to something soon, especially if you got people who don't know how to deal with the emotions going on. There, again, no friendships, no sense of a safe place you can go. There was no safe place for her. So, yeah, he was MX. He was punishing her for being happy self because he was negative. You know, she seemed like a very happy person, and I could definitely see that myself. That he saw someone who was happy and he wanted that happiness for himself at times. I could definitely see that. And all Burden, you thought you could, yeah, I think that's a great point there, Burden. Okay, people want to save others, and and unfortunately, you can't. So.
yeah, no matter you think that you have enough love, you have enough, you could show them what they've never seen before, what they've never understood, what they've never experienced. You can do it. You can be that person for them. And it's just not, it's not it. Their negativity, their bad way, their toxic behavior will overtake all of your kindness and just suffocate you. um, it will do so much damage to you as an individual by trying to help. And it's, if they do not want help and they are not willing to work on themselves, um, it's just not, it's not going to happen. It's not, it's just going to cause so much damage to you.
Yeah,
The
that's true.
thing is, well, narcissists are never going to change because that's
Yeah,
their how
exactly.
their brain works, and it's a trained behavior. So they start somewhere. Well, that's what it says technically in like the mental health stuff, that they start somewhere and they learned this behavior, and it just kind of stays in their brain forever. They can't change,
Right, right.
and they won't.
No, I think that's it. And so many people, and you talk about codependency, and to some degree, that's where that is. It's the idea that you're going to help someone else. You're going to help them understand why their behavior pushes this type of reaction, or how to help them balance things so they don't get so frustrated or things like that. And it comes down to the whole fact that a person has to choose to listen to that type of discussion. Okay. And each person deals with things in different ways. So if you're dealing with a narcissist, okay, in that type of relationship, they're not going to look at the fact that you might have some ideas that help them, because they're the ones who are right to begin with. So if you would just do things the way they want done, then they don't have to worry about it. Okay. Everything will be happy if you just follow everything that I'm doing and all that. We're going to have a great life together. But people can only do that for so long.
Yeah. And I mean, and that ties us into the other case that we're going to talk about too with Maya Millete, because she was in this dynamic relationship where it was abusive, it was toxic, and she never left. You know, she couldn't leave because of her 3 kids. She felt like she had to stay there. She felt like, you know, she had to stay with her husband and go through all of this. And it's one of those things where, like, these men convince you that you have no one else, that you have nowhere that you can go. And that's where the abuse starts. You know, they convince you that you're completely alone on this island and that no one can save you and no one can help you. And then next thing you know, they start with the physical abuse. And sadly, so many times it ends up in cases like Gabby and Maya.
It's going to ramp up over time. And that's actually a great segue into Maya now. Maya is probably the least known of these 2 cases, even though they were happening fairly much at the same time. One followed the other one pretty much. January 7th is the last day Maya was seen. So actually, let me ask in chat. In chat, put a 1 in chat if you have heard Maya's story. Put a 2 in chat if you have not heard Maya's story or really don't know her story real well. That'll give me an idea how far we need to go on explaining her story. And I know, give you guys one idea. We were kind of talking about this as a group. We were supposed to do this discussion last week. And because I got sick, we had to put it off a whole week. And in that week, we have had so many new updates pop up, the videos of Gabby and Brian. Okay, today is actually the 1-year anniversary of Maya's husband being arrested and put in jail. So today is a huge day for this case. And also, okay, so we're getting a little half 1s, half 2s, a lot of 2s. Okay, perfect. So January 7th was the last day Maya was seen. Maya was 39 years old and was last seen on surveillance video arriving at her home in Chula Vista, California. Okay, last time she saw, just so you guys know, Maya has 3 children. She and her husband, Larry, have 3 children. And here is Larry. So this is the guy who was later arrested for her murder. Now, to let you know, they have not found her body yet. Maya's body has not been found, but California feels strong enough that they have a case that they can make that he murdered his wife and all. So they'd been married 21 years. So here we have one case on Gabby's side where they just a couple years of dating and stuff like that. They were just getting ready to get married. This is a couple with 3 kids. They'd been married 21 years. She'd been in this, just like Slew said, in this relationship for years. And he was the last one to see her. And one of the big problems family had is, as they started talking with him, he seemed kind of indifferent to the whole fact she was missing. Okay, very indifferent to everything. Kept coming up with different stories, all sorts of stuff. So after 2 days of her not being around, her sister, not husband, sister reported her missing to Chula Vista. The family has worked tirelessly, even to this day. They had a search a few weeks ago, and all looking for her. And gang, if any of you guys have anything to throw out, just stop me and we'll throw it out in the middle of it. I'm keeping an eye on chat also. January 10th. Okay, you have Mary Chris, who you're looking there at. Okay, sister and her husband. They were really putting things together. Now, when it really became serious in their eyes, they already knew that she was missing, but one of her daughter's birthdays occurred, and Maya did not show up. Now, her husband kept saying, oh, I think she ran away. She left us. She just left us. And her family's like, oh, hell no, no. She would not miss her child's birthday. I mean, how many of you girls that have kids would ever miss your child's birthday?
Not a chance.
No.
And we actually found out during the arrest warrant, too, that one of the biggest red flags was the day before she was last seen on January 6th, she had texted one of her best friends, and she said, I told him that I'm filing for a divorce, whether he likes it or not. I'm done trying to make it amicable for the sake of the kids. And so all of that happening right before she, quote unquote, ran away was just like red flag.
Yeah, no, the red flags in this are just ridiculous. And that does get into things. How many cases we hear of where they try to stick it out as long as possible for the kids. And, but we also know leaving is the most dangerous time anyone can have in a domestic violence relationship. That moment you decide to leave, that is the most dangerous time you can. And Natasha missed her daughter's 16th. And we all do. I'll be honest, my dad missed my birthday every single year, but he had a reason. He had to go to a meeting that fell every freaking year on my birthday. Okay, but I also understand things happen. And so when she didn't show up for the birthday, it was like, oh no, we've got something going on. And as was mentioned a few minutes ago by Red Rock, he was also keeping the children from her parents. Now, you may remember what I said earlier. The police honestly feel her children, okay, or at least one of the children saw what happened. So he was trying to keep them away from their grandparents, whose daughter was missing. So another huge red flag occurring at that time. MX, have you Chris Dawson? And I'll have to take a look at that one, Chris. I'll definitely have to take a look at that. Oh my gosh, Natasha. Oh, hon. You know, see, and those are the cases. You would never have missed your 16-year-old's birthday if it hadn't been for that. I'm sorry, hon. I'm sorry about that. And I'm happy you're safe though. I'm really happy you're safe now though. And so as people got involved, attorneys got in, January 11th, okay, they started going into the home looking for clues. He, again, very unconcerned about she just ran out, but he was airing out the house. So, again, red flag, red flag, red flag. I wish I had a red flag emoji right now. You are, Natasha. You truly are, actually. Wow. January 13th, okay, finally, he does an interview. Okay, an interview that many people are like, something's way off during this. He did try to do the normal, I love you, honey. Okay, just come back home. I'm still hopeful with all the, again, he's trying to push off this idea that she's run away. Okay, January 23rd, search warrant issued. Now, there's been a lot of new things that have come out from the search warrant. There we go, burden of proof, Sherry. I knew we had to have a red flag in there somewhere. Yeah. And also, they went in there. They were able to see some things, including his guns, family members' guns, a couple of other things that are still being looked at in some court documents that have recently come out. Sorry, I'm kind of going through this really quickly so we can get to the meat of this and discuss a lot of it. Family really pushing together. This family, okay, girls, Love to hear this one on
Sister
you.
has been an amazing advocate for her. And that's actually the one and only time that I really heard about this case before you were
Sister.
deciding to cover it was actually her sister going
Oh,
from different channels and doing interviews and advocating. And they've been out there searching so many times. Like, we're talking every time they get the chance, they are out there in this wilderness looking for her because it's just such a vast desert area, and we've seen this in a lot of cases lately where it's just this vast wasteland. Where do you even start? And so, her family, like I can't applaud them enough for what they're doing for her.
Yeah, her sister, press conference that her sister did,
yes.
and she was crying is the first one that I heard, and I covered that one. I was like, I've got to cover this, like this family. I cannot imagine, and this needs to be heard and put out there. They need help, and that's when I actually started to dig into it and look into the case was because of her sister. Yeah.
There you go. And that's it. That's where the thing is with the families. The families are the ones who can bring us these stories. They tell us who the person is. Okay. They tell us about what a dedicated mom she was. Okay. It was in listening to them tell the stories that I started hearing more and more about how he was refusing to let his kids see their maternal grandparents. And I remember standing here having a talk with my mom, telling my mom how disrespectful he was being. Okay, whether she ran away or was hurt or whatever it was, the fact that he was doing that to two parents who had just lost their child, it infuriated me and couldn't help me but think, why? Why is it that he won't let these kids do this? And he wanted to have the tie on the kids. So they happened just a week ago. They did another search. Now this is when things got weird. How many of you guys remember all the spell casting and witchcraft stuff? I think Burden probably does.
Yeah. Really, really creepy and
Ooh.
like taking it way too far, man. You've gone off the deep end for sure. This is too much, too far. You're not right. And it's dangerous stuff to mess with too. Like, ew. Oh yeah.
Yeah, this was one of the actual, I don't want to call it a shrine, I forget what you call it, but it started off as he was trying to do a spell. He was contacting people on the internet about getting a spell done that would bring her back into his life, not physically, but more like, oh, I want her to love me. I want her to be my wife. I don't want her to leave, that type of thing. And when he realized that wasn't going to work anymore, and this was while she was still in his life, then he turned it to, well, I want harm to come to her. Okay. He later asked, okay, there were a couple little text messages, emails sent to people, and one of them was, please punish May and incapacitate her enough so she can't leave the house. It's time to take the gloves off.
Awful.
Yeah. Once you hear things like that, you are dealing with someone. I'll be honest, when I heard this, it also worried me about the kids. Because someone who could do something like this to control a wife, what are they capable of doing to control children, especially if children saw something?
Yeah, they
Well,
got to a point they were sleeping in separate rooms, and he was putting recordings in the room that was, what was it saying? It said something like, "No other men, no other men, no other men," and just played on repeat all night long. And she had no idea, but there was a secret little wavelength recording that was being played in her room that just kept repeating, "There will be no other men. There will be no other men." Like,
yeah.
too far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a creep. And I mean, even on the last day that she was seen, like, um, he had been emailing spellcasters, and some of the emails that he had sent was, I think she wants me to snap. I'm shaking inside. I'm ready to snap. And then he said another one saying, make her realize that we're meant to be with each other, make her miserable without me, make her want to sleep on the same bed for all of eternity, eternity. And it was just weird. And at the same time, she had phone calls with the divorce attorney that day. And so it was like, did he have her phone bugged? Like, how did he know that besides the fact that they had that conversation, that she sent her friend the text message saying that she had finally told him? I mean, did she make it clear that she was speaking with the divorce attorneys that day to him? It kind of all flowed together with his emails to the spellcasters and stuff. And it just shows like he was literally just melting down all that evening. Like, I can't even imagine what was going on in that home that night.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, totally, totally. And seeing all these things. And yeah, you're right, Red Rock. Both were originally from the Philippines. My sister-in-law is Filipina. And there are a lot of beliefs. It's a very Catholic nation nowadays, but there are certain areas that have their beliefs and things too. But yeah, this and the fact you combine this in with 21 years of their relationship and the amount of controlling that seemed to be going on during at least the last couple months of this. Okay, that stuff doesn't just pop up overnight. That's been going on for quite a while. And of course, like she said, she had her kids. So she was trying to protect her kids and didn't want to upset her kids through a divorce. Everyone knows that's one of the hardest things a child can go through. But this level of control, totally. Very superstitious and mixed big. That was a good way to put it. Very and all. So on May 7th, during an investigation by the police department, multiple search warrants were served at the Millete home. On May 7th, Larry was served with a gun violence restraining order and had to surrender more firearms. So he had multiple firearms going on. Okay, a lot of things going on with that. His family members had firearms. So there's definitely capabilities there. And this led up, okay, that was May 7th. 1 year ago today, Larry was arrested. Okay, now this was huge. Okay, it had been 9 months since then. He was arrested for murder. No body. They still have not found the body, as we keep saying. But they have enough information that they feel strong on this case. It's kind of like the case with Ariel right now. You have enough. I don't think we've heard a lot of it yet. I really suspect the kids may have information they've been able to come forward with. But to be able, especially in California, to pull someone up on something like murder charges, they've got to have a good case on them right now.
Yeah.
You guys thoughts?
And I think that the video, as much as they can't prove that the sounds heard in that are gunshots, they also have that video of the little kids, the children at 10:30 at night were outside playing. Okay, why would you just don't? It's a school night. You don't have your children go outside and play in the backyard at 10:30 at night. The same night that there were these sounds that sounded like gunshots. I mean, it's all circumstantial, but it put it together, and it seems like
Saying the gunshots were only like a half hour or so after the last email to the spellcasters people. And so,
yep, exactly.
Like
Well, it's kind of like, yeah, Scott Peterson, I think it was, who, okay, when he killed his wife and they all go running out camping or something like that at a time that made no sense. You got to look at all these things, and that's the case here. Why would they be outside at a time like this? Okay, even the oldest, who was 10 or so at the time, I think. There's no reason for that. And then gunshot people heard, and I don't think any of us were able to find that. If I find any video, I'll post it.
I think it's at the top, maybe.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
The top of where I am right now?
Our private chat.
Oh, way at the top. There you go. Thank you, girl. Thank you. Okay, let me pull this up. So this is courtesy CBS 8 San Diego. let me stop sharing that and come in here. Sorry, gang, I don't do the video stuff as much as everyone does. And also, okay. So this is the night. Let me turn this all the way up so you guys can hear it. So this was surveillance video that was recorded in their neighborhood at 10:34 on the day that she supposedly was killed. Approximately a half hour after 8 loud bangs were recorded. So let's go ahead and play this. It's minute 33. Sorry, loud dogs. Headphone warning for anyone, just FYI. Actually, I'm going to forward it a little bit to right before the gunshot pops. And all.
Let's have the kids playing.
Is that the kids playing?
Yeah.
Wow. So, stopping that one right there. Let me pause that there. Okay. So, yeah, you definitely can hear it. First, it sounded to me like she was screaming or something there, too. I think that's what I thought when I first heard it. And so it was, I think that's the kids and all. But that is definitely not noise you would normally hear at that time of night. Oh, so let me go ahead and bring up the other stuff again. Okay, here we go. So he was arrested at that time. Searches have continued since. They have tried to get the word out. They continue to have people searching. Gang, it gets back to the thing. It's not enough for someone to know their loved one is gone. They need the chance to mourn. And as long as a body is still sitting out there, they're not getting the chance to mourn. Okay, they never have that chance to go sit by a place where they know their loved one is, if that makes sense. So I think this family is gonna continue looking no matter what. So 1 year after, still looking. We are now 1 year after, 1 year and what now? 10 months almost? 1 year, 10 months now. And so they have been doing tons of raising of money for search, and there's been a lot of support. There's also been a lot of support for they've sold things online to be able to help get her, whether it be from stickers, jewelry, whatever it is they can come up with to kind of keep Maya in the public's eye. And so now, since this time, there have been updates, as I mentioned. Let me pull up the first one. So he's been in jail this whole time waiting trial. And let me see, this one is this one here. Okay. And questions started coming up about his competency. I love how everyone tries to run to that whenever they're in trouble. It's like, oh no, I'm incompetent. He had no problem being competent his whole life. But yeah, anyhow, I'm getting pissed. So this came out actually on September 26th. So just about 3 weeks ago. So criminal proceedings were reinstated Monday in the case of a man killing his wife. More than 18 months. The mental competency finding means the criminal case will go forward against Larry Millete, who is charged with the murder for allegedly killing 39-year-old Maya Millete, the mother of his 3 children. In June, his defense attorney, Benita Martinez, declared a doubt as to her client's competency to stand trial, which halted the case. On Monday, Martinez stipulated to the findings in a report authored by a psychiatrist who examined him Based on that report, San Diego Superior Court Judge Cindy Davis found that he is mentally competent. He will be going to trial. He's slated to have a 3-week preliminary hearing during which the prosecution will present the evidence it believes will support the charges of murder and unlawful possession of an assault weapon filed against him. A status conference is set for this on Friday, so this was last month, at the South Bay Courthouse in Chula Vista, at which time preliminary hearing date might be set. And they are getting those dates all set now. Goes in here, okay, everything that we've talked about. Family's definitely happy within this whole thing. It is starting to move forward. Like with the Ariel case, it's like these things people sit in jail and they're not speaking, but we keep postponing for one reason or another the trials, which is just infuriating on its own. So we have that. And then the final thing that's popped up recently actually just popped up. And this has to do with his children. So Larry, after he was arrested, he was put into, let me pull this up real quick. After he was arrested and put in jail, he continued, even though he was told, do not connect with your children. He continued doing so. Okay, he continued talking to them for various reasons. This came out actually a week ago. And until this week, the man accused of murdering his 39-year-old wife, who remains missing more than 18 months later, was unable to communicate with his children per a court order. In October of last year, a judge ruled he was only allowed to speak to his attorney from jail after violating a court order prohibiting him from contacting his children. Deputy District Attorney Christy Bowles said at the time that since his arrest a week prior, Millete had made 129 phone calls to his parents' house, where his children were living. Remember, he was not letting his kids see their maternal grandmother. In the calls, he was allegedly asking one of the children to read newspaper headlines to him, and also told 2 of the children. Now, gang, I think we're talking like 10 and 8, something like that. I'd have to double check the ages of these kids. But he was asking them to watch an R-rated film called Shock Collar to understand the environment he was now in. The film is about a well-to-do family man who is jailed for killing and after a plea deal and becomes a hardened prisoner. Gang, I don't know about you guys with this. Speak up if you'd like to with this one. The fact that he would put his children through that type of fear, they love their dad. To this day, they still love their dad. And for them to watch a video that is showing them what their dad may be going through in jail just because he's worried and wants them to know.
Yeah, 4, 9, and 11 is far too young. Yeah, that's far too young to be showing them any of this. You got to stop. You can't be giving children adult problems. That is not healthy. And you're a grown adult. You need to stop doing that. That's not for a child to put on their shoulders and have to bear.
It's frustrating oh, good. Thank you. I just saw Vernon. I saw what you saw. We'll play that right at the end here. So in court in Chula Vista on Tuesday, however, the judge modified the criminal protective order against Millete, who only spoke in court when asked if he understood the guidelines. He said, yes, sir. Per request from the defense attorney, Millete will now be allowed to have written communication with his kids. So he's allowed to write to them, and the guardian who's involved in this whole thing, okay, watching over the kids right now, will have to review all the letters before they're sent on. Okay. Right now there's a huge guardianship issue going on between, Millete's parents, who are trying to keep all the kids and all, and Maya's sister and brother-in-law, Mary Chris, who did all the interviews that we talked about earlier. They're still trying to keep the kids away from the maternal side of the family. And so, let's see. I think that was it for the rest of that one. Yes, that is that for there. And also, it's just so, oh, Millete? Okay, Millete. Thank you. And yeah, we run into a bunch of different things. Spellings can be fun. Trust me, living in Hawaii.
I can never pronounce names, so I'm right there.
Oh, yes.
I'm right there.
Yeah,
This
so
guy, I mean, what he did to his kids, what he's continuing to do to his kids, the fact that they're letting him contact them again blows my mind, to be completely honest. Just knowing that we're in this situation where he likely killed their mother and, in my opinion, subjecting them to material like that and having them be a part of his investigation to the point where he's having them read newspaper headlines and different stuff like that to see what's going on in the investigation for him. That's a form of abuse, I would think. And so I just can't believe that they're giving him the permission back.
yeah, from what I understand, the kids really do want to talk with him again, which I don't blame them. I mean, this has to be confusing for them. And I have a gut feeling they are also being led to think and believe certain things by the paternal family. I wouldn't put it past them. Okay, we've all seen how divorce can be, but in a case like this, I'm sure there's even more things being done. And you want to do what's best for the child. Is it cutting off connection completely from the other parent? Or is it allowing supervised until they're old enough to make the decision for them? I don't know. That's the hard part. Because it affects them. They've been victimized. Let's see here. I'm going to pull up one thing. Burden just was able to send me the gunshot. So let me pull this up so we can share this out real quick. Here we go. Okay. So this is, again, thank you, CBS 8 San Diego. And this is the actual surveillance audio from 9:57 that night. So, and there's, as you can see, there are 8 bangs that can be heard within here. So let me, sorry. Okay, let me see. Oh, wait. I was like, why is a dog barking? My dog's not barking. Okay, let's start that one over and try this again. Okay.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, now
Like at this point, that's overkill. Like, what is going on?
yeah. Well, that's where I'm sitting here. I'm going to stop that one at that point there. But gang, yeah, what popped into my head as I was playing that is I'm sitting here thinking as she's going through that, okay, there were 5, then that super long pause. And yeah, huge pause beforehand. I'm like, wait, did I miss it again? And, was he running after her around the house? Possibility. I mean, what happened with those first 5 and then the pause, and then it sounds like there were a couple more after that. I mean, just overkill and the fear that had to be going on at that time. And did the kids run in afterwards? I mean, the kids had to have heard that.
The whole neighborhood had to have heard that.
Yeah,
It amazes me that nobody called the cops.
exactly. I'd be interested in knowing, this was January 7th. Even with that, though, in Hawaii, and I'm not sure if their neighborhood's the same, where we have a very heavy Asian presence, firecrackers are crazy during New Year's. And they start a month and a half before New Year's, and they go on for another month afterwards.
Yeah, people could have thought fireworks.
Yeah. Because I've actually myself all of a sudden heard things and I've been like, oh my gosh, but 8 in a row like that, that didn't even sound like a firecracker string. Okay,
No.
that was pretty, yeah, blatant what that was. So,
And then the kids end up outside after that and running around playing. It's like it's too much. That yeah, in a row. Yeah.
I think it's another one of those cases where I think police have a really good idea of what happened. Okay, without, they don't need the body for
I mean,
trial's
honestly, with
sake.
8 shots, like, there would almost have to be a lot of evidence in the house. Like, I can't see how there wouldn't be.
Mhm. And that's it. That's it. Going through, looking around. Did they see any? They said he was airing out his house a couple days later. I mean, all
Windows
sorts of
open.
things.
Yeah, that the windows were open, the air conditioning unit was running.
Definitely brings up a lot of concerns at that point. Let me pull up
I hate to do
Gabby.
this, guys, but I have to jump off because I woke up the baby, so I gotta go try to get her
No.
to sleep before she wakes anybody else up. I love you
No
all. Thank you
problem.
so much for coming.
Sweet
Bye.
dreams, my dear. I
Bye.
know.
Good
Worry.
night.
We're going to be off in a few minutes anyhow. So good timing.
Guys,
So,
you left
yeah.
early. We're going by.
Poor thing. Poor thing. But yeah, no. There's definitely, yeah. Nicole was thinking the same thing. Okay. You hear it often and you think firework or gun. And it is scary because you hear it all the time. Red Rock, we had heavy early snow when the tree snapped. It sounded like a shooting range. See, so there's a lot of things that people could think, but it's like with Ariel. Ariel, you've got her sister telling the story, which is enough to be able to pull all this stuff together with other circumstantial evidence or other things that happened. In this case, I have a gut feeling between everything we just saw there. Plus, I would not be surprised if at least the oldest child has some thought as to what's happened. And also, any last thoughts on this or anything, Burden or PJ?
I hope that justice comes for Maya. And unfortunately, we lost that opportunity with Brian, for Gabby, and so I was very disappointed in that situation. But I can only hope that we can get that, and that this evidence is going to be strong. I feel that it probably is. And so I recommend everyone follow. And also, if you're able to search, go and help her family or put out awareness to other people that would be capable of getting out there and helping the family search, because she still hasn't been found. And they're still trying to find her, to bring her home, to put her at a resting place with family, with loved ones who cared about her. So that's all I would say. But thank you for covering her case.
Hey, no
Both.
problem. This is an important
Yeah,
one for
thank you
sure.
for covering these cases. I never heard of Maya's case. It makes me want to like research it a little bit more. And I do hope that they do find her and that she does get justice, because I did watch the video where they were searching for her and it was like all like dirt and everything else. So
Mhm. Right. Yeah, I think that whole area, California, is so wide and there's so many different types of ecology there. I did want to let everyone know, according to the most recent information, these are the upcoming critical dates for Maya's case. October 12th was the CPO hearing order. So that went through. December 6th is going to be the next. That's the status hearing. And then January 11 through 27 will be pretrial. I find that those are the important dates of her missing. But 2 years to her going missing and the pretrial will be kicking in. please, if you're interested in Maya's case, there are 2 amazing Facebook groups out there. One is called Missing Maya Millete Discussion, and the other is actually Where is Maya Millete? And Where is Maya Millete is actually connected with the family. So I'm going to go ahead and share that real quickly with y'all here. I'm hoping I can do it through StreamYard. We'll find out how that works. So please check that out. MX, you asked, what does he say happened? He said she ran away. I don't know if he has any excuses for the gunshots or anything. So, but thank you all so much for coming in. I want to thank the 3 amazing women who came and joined us tonight. We're not sure where we're going to be next week, so please keep an eye out on all our channels. We will be continuing covering cases like this. Did we make a decision on any cases? Not cases, but location next week, or is it still up in the air?
Yeah, it's going to be on my channel next week.
We are okay. Perfect.
I haven't decided what cases yet, though.
No problem. I know we were talking in private chat, and I'm like, I did not get to read that. Oh, yeah, there it is. So we will be at PJ's channel. So Lighting the Way Home for the Vanished. Please come join us next week for that one. I'm sure there'll be amazing cases being covered. So thank y'all all. You girls, thank you so much. You guys have a great night. I will see you guys later this week. Thank you to everyone who joined in and chat and helped share ideas. And let's just get their story out, and we'll see you in the future. Love y'all, and aloha. Mahalo, gang.